I think that's better. Yes. Okay. Hello. All right. Sorry, I. Why am I not visible now? Am I audible, visible? Is this working? Looks like I am back. Sorry about that. Little bit of a technical snag. Hello, hello. How are we doing? Welcome to today's session. Hi, Tanmay. Hi, Pranav. Hi, Dr. Abhishek Tiwari. Hi, Sayon. Hi, Aryan. Okay. Good, good, good. So, because we've already wasted a bit of time trying to fix these things, so let's quickly get started. Before I get started, as always, if you haven't yet, please make sure you fill out this form. It will get you access to expert students counseling, and with that, you will be able to make your study abroad journey a lot more smoother. I just used more with a comparative adjective, so shame on me. Make it a lot smoother. Okay. I mean, I used more with a comparative adjective that takes ER, which is wrong. Don't do that. Okay, so we're gonna get started with our listening test. You know the drill. I am giving you a minute to go get your pen, paper, and everything else that you require to be able to do this. And your brain, of course, don't leave that behind. Brain is extremely important. I will do the same thing. I will get my pen, paper as well. Here we are. Have not seen the test in advance, so I am going to be taking it with you. And today I hope to see many, many, many band nines. And I am sure that's possible. I know you can do it. So let's get started. High energy, high energy. I might be a little low on energy because I'm not feeling too well. But we need to be high energy, okay? Get ready to focus, and I am going to start the recording, okay? All right.
Section 1. You will hear a man, Martin Hill, phoning an estate agent in order to find some accommodation. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 3 on page 38. You will see that there is an example which has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Ignore this. I'll tell you when you need to start paying attention.
Hello, Brindle's estate agents here. How may I help you?
Oh, good morning. I'm ringing to see what flats you have for rent at the moment.
Right.
Martin wants to rent a flat. So B has been circled as the answer.
Now start paying attention.
You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 3.
Hello, Brindle's estate agents here. How may I help you?
Oh, good morning. I'm ringing to see what flats you have for rent at the moment.
Right. Can I start by just taking your name, Mr.
Hill. Martin Hill.
Right. And are you looking for a flat for yourself or, a family, perhaps?
Well, it's for 3 of us. Myself and 2 friends. We're going to share together.
I see. What about employment? Are you all students?
Oh, no. We've all got full-time jobs. 2 of us work in the central bank. That's Chris and me. And Phil, that's the other one, is working for Hallam Cars, at the factory about 2 miles out of town.
I'll put you down as young professionals then. And I suppose you'll be looking for somewhere with 3 bedrooms?
Yeah, at least 3. But actually, we'd rather have a 4th room as well, if we can afford it. For friends staying over and stuff.
Is that with a living room to share, plus kitchen and bathroom?
Yeah, that sounds good. But we must have a bathroom with a shower. We don't mind about having a bath, but the shower's crucial.
Okay, I'll just key that in. And are you interested in any particular area?
Well, the city centre would be good for me and Chris, so that's our first preference. But we'd consider anything in the west suburbs as well, really. Actually, for Phil, that'd be better, but he knows he's outnumbered. But we aren't interested in the north or the east of the city.
Okay, I'm just getting up all the flats on our books.
Now you have some time to look at questions 4 to 10 on page 39. Now listen and answer questions 4 to 10.
Just looking at this list here, I'm afraid there are only 2 that might interest you. Do you want the details?
Okay, let me just grab a pen and some paper. Fire away.
This first one I'm looking at is in Bridge Street and very close to the bus station. It's not often that flats in that area come up for rent. This one's got 3 bedrooms, a bathroom and kitchen, of course, and a very big living room. That sounds a good size for you.
So what about the rent? How much is it a month?
The good news is that it's only £450 a month. Rents in that area usually reach up to $650 a month. But the landlord obviously wants to get a tenant quickly.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of a bargain. What about transport for Phil?
Well, there'll be plenty of buses, so no problem for him to use public transport. But unfortunately, there isn't a shower in the flat. And that location is likely to be noisy, of course.
Okay, what about the other place?
Let's see. Oh, yes. Well, this one is in a really nice location, on Hills Avenue. I'm sure you know it. This looks like something a bit special. It's got 4 big bedrooms and, there's a big living room. And, oh, this will be good for you, a dining room. It sounds enormous, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds great.
That whole area is being developed, and the flat's very modern, which I'm sure you'll like. It's got good facilities, including your shower. And of course, it's going to be quiet, especially compared with the other place.
Better and better. But I'll bet it's expensive, especially if it's in that trendy area beside the park.
I'm afraid so. They're asking £800 a month for it.
Whoa, it sounds a lot more than we can afford.
Well, maybe you could get somebody else to move in too. I'll tell you what. Give me your address and I can send you all the details and photos. And you can see whether these two are worth a visit.
Thanks, that would be really helpful. My address is flat 5.
Okay, we're going to switch things up a little bit in today's session. We are going to go section wise, and so let's discuss the answers for this section. Quickly send me what you have. Send me your answers. Okay. It was quite easy, I feel, this one. What did you guys feel? Why, Tanmay? Already you got an answer wrong. Okay, so here, what is Martin's occupation? So it's feeling weird. I'm just going to take it out. So the recording clearly said that Martin is trying to move into a flat with two of his friends. So there are 3 people. He said 2 of them work in a bank and 1 works in a car factory. Martin, along with another one of his friends, which is not Phil, works in a bank. So the correct answer here was B. You have to had paid attention. You had to have paid attention to understand who works in a bank, who works in a car factory. It's okay, just one wrong. Okay, you can still get a band 9. Next, the friends would prefer somewhere with. So in this, there was the synonym trap. The questions asked prefer, but the recording said rather. Here it says rather, but the recording said prefer. So here prefer and rather are synonyms. You need to know that to be able to answer correctly. They would prefer, first they said we need something with 3 bedrooms because we are 3 people, but then he backtracked. So there was a synonym trap, right? And there was also some backtracking where he said we want 3 bedrooms, but no, actually what if our friends come over? So that's why 4 bedrooms. So it is B, A, and then here, why would Phil prefer to live where these guys don't want to live? Because the bank is close to the city center. That's what the recording said. But the car factory is close to the west suburbs. And Phil is the one who works in a car factory. So Phil would prefer the west suburbs, not the city center. And he remarked that, right? He said Phil would rather stay in the western suburbs. He would prefer that. Okay. So BAC was the correct answer here. Next. Yes. So Bridge Street was near what? Near the bus station. 3 bedrooms, very big living room. It was only 450 a month. Transport, no shower. The problem with this place was that that area, that part of the city could be noisy, right? Then we had, she said it's on Hills Avenue. So the confusion that can take place here is some people might write on Hills Avenue. That's fine. You have 3 words that you can put in here, so it should be okay. But the name obviously was just Hills Avenue. 4-bedroom living room, also had a dining room. It was modern, that's how she described it, modern, and will be quiet as opposed to the noisy one over here. Will be quiet, not noisy. This will be noisy, this will be quiet, right? Any confusion anywhere? Or did you all get quickly post your scores in the chat? My score here was a clean 10 on 10. I thought part 1, section 1 was quite easy. It's okay, Tanmay. So you got 9 on 10. Make sure you're getting 10 on 10 for all the other sections, okay? Hyperfocus. Such an easy question you missed? Probably because you got distracted. No other reason. Sion, I feel like you got a 10 on 10. Oh, you spelled avenue wrong. See, words like this you need to know. Okay, so this is a very common term used to talk about different addresses. For example, in New York, everything is in a street and avenue. Fifth Avenue, you must have heard of that, right? So this convention is followed in some cities in India as well. So you need to know the spelling of these words, okay? Avenue, that's how it is spelled. All right, Tanmay, dining room does not have two N's together. It's DINING. All right, Aryan, one, you missed the last one. That's fine. You got a 9 on 10. Make sure you're aiming for a 10 on 10 for all the other sections, and you can still get a band 9. Okay, very good, Harrier, the beautiful beast. You got a 10 on 10. Sion, 9 on 10. What did you miss? Because of the avenue spelling. That's okay. Great job, everybody. Now, please start focusing more. It is going to get more difficult. We don't have any scope for mistakes. I'm going to play the recording for section 2 now, which is going to be a monologue. Okay?
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You will hear a tour guide welcoming a group of visitors to the British Library and telling them about the library and what they will see there. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15 on page 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your very own tour of the British Library on this lovely afternoon. My name is Tony Walters, and I'm your guide for today. Could I please see your tickets for the guided tour? I'd also like to remind you that any tickets bought today do not include a visit to the reading rooms. I'm afraid we don't do visits on Fridays, or any weekday during working hours, so as not to disturb the readers. But if you do want to see those rooms, the only day there are tours is on Sundays. So, I don't want anyone to be disappointed about that today. Okay? Thank you. Right, we'll start with a brief introduction. As many of you know, this is the United Kingdom's National Library, and you can see that this is a magnificent modern building. It was first designed by Sir Colin St. John Wilson in 1977, and inaugurated by Her Majesty the Queen more than 20 years later in 1998. As you can see, the size is immense, and the basements alone have 300 kilometers of shelving, and that's enough to hold about 12 million books. The total floor space here is 100,000 square meters, and as I'll show you, the library houses a huge range of facilities and exhibition spaces. And it has 1,000 staff members based here in the building. So, you can appreciate the scale of our operation. In fact, this was the biggest publicly funded building constructed in the United Kingdom last century. It is still funded by the government as a national institution, of course, and it houses one of the most important collections in the world. The different items come from every continent and span almost 3,000 years. The library isn't a public library, though. You can't just come in and join and borrow any of the books. Access to the collections is limited to those involved in carrying out research. So it's really a huge reference library for that purpose. And anyone who wants to consult any materials that are kept here can formally apply to use the library reading rooms.
You now have some time to look at questions 16 to 20 on page 41.
If there's anything you can't see, just let me know and I will write it down for you.
Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
As a matter of fact, let me just quickly pause and I will write down the names of everything that's written. I think you can see it though. Those of you who are watching on your phones, you might have an issue. You'll really have to bring it close to your eyes, but I think everything else is visible, so we are good to go.
Right, well, here we are, standing at the meeting point on the lower ground floor, just to the right of the main entrance. I've given you all a plan of the building so that we can orientate ourselves and get an idea of where we'll be going. Now, outside the main entrance, you'll see the wide piazza with the stunning sculpture of Newton. The sculptor was Paolozzi, but it's based on the famous image by William Blake, and it's definitely worth a closer look. On the other side of the piazza from the statue is the conference centre, which is used for all kinds of international conventions. We'll take a quick look inside at the end of our tour. Looking ahead of us now, you'll see that we're standing opposite the staircase down to the basement, where you'll find the cloakroom. And to the left of that, we have the information desk, where you can find out about any current exhibitions, the times of the tours, and anything you need to know if you don't have a tour guide. As you can see, on this lower ground floor, we also have a bookshop. That's the area over to the left of the main entrance. You'll be free to browse there when we get back to the ground floor. Now, opposite the main entrance on this floor, we have the open stairs leading up to the upper ground floor. And at the top of them, in the middle of the upper ground floor, you can see a kind of glass-sided tower that rises all the way up through the ceiling and up to the first floor. This is called the King's Library. It's really the heart of the building. It was built to house the collection that was presented to the nation in 1823 by the King. You can see it from every floor above ground. When we go up there, you'll find the library's treasures gallery on the left. Can you find it on your plan? That's the exciting one. So we'll be visiting that first, but we'll also take a look at the stamp display situated behind it on the way to the cafe. A lot of people miss that. The cafeteria runs along the back of the floor, and in the right-hand corner, you'll find the lifts and toilets. Always good to locate them. The other main area on that floor is the public access catalogue section, and I'll show you how that operates when we get up there.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Alright, section 2 answers. Let's quickly discuss. Quickly leave your answers in the chat. Now here, got a little complicated, but still nothing out of the ordinary. This was quite easy. They are visiting on a Friday, so they couldn't do a group visit there. Group visits are allowed only on Sundays to the reading room, right? Everybody got this? Then the library was officially opened, and this was a confusing one. Here it said opened. There were two words that were discussed: designed and inaugurated, right? So designed and inaugurated. Designed was I wrote that down also, 1977. And nearly 20 years later, it was inaugurated in 1998. So which do you think should be the answer? Which do you think should be the answer? Very good. Great job. Should be 1998 because inaugurated means it was finally opened for the public. Right? Great job. Okay. All the library rooms together cover. So now it said 100,000. That is an acceptable answer. But just to be on the safer side, because it said no more than 3 words and did not mention numbers, you can also write 100,000. Okay, but I think the numerical value also works, so you can give yourself a point if you've written the numerical value. Okay, next, the library was financed by the whom? Who financed the library? Very good. The government. And it's not for general public. This is for people doing research. That's what he said. So, research. Yes? Very good. Any confusions here? This was the only question that was confusing. This, I wrote public first, but then I changed my answer to government because there was a bit of backtracking. He said that first it was opened by the funds collected from the public, but now the library is funded or financed by the government. Again, it did not use the word finance, it used the word funded. So synonyms is something that you will see throughout the listening section. You have to watch out for them, okay? Very good. Seems like you all got the right answers. Now coming to the labeling bit. We started, see, whenever you are labeling and you feel lost on the map, remember to start with the first question. The first question for this section is question number 16. So you have to start here. This is the order that we are going to follow. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Where the question numbers are, that's the exact order that the narrator is going to follow. Never will it happen that you will jump from 16 to 19, then come to 18, then go to 20, then come to 17. That's not possible. We will be going in the exact order that the questions are going in. So obviously we start here. He spoke about the piazza, he spoke about the statue, and then said that on the other side of the piazza you will find the very good the conference center. Then we went through the main entrance, talked about the cloakroom. Next to the cloakroom, what can you find? You can find the information desk. Very good. Then he said, on the left hand side, you're going to find a bookshop. Bookshop can be 1 word, bookshop can be 2 words. You're allowed to write 3 words, so that's fine. Okay? Then you take these stairs. Every time you see some sort of design like this on a map, that is stairs. Okay? So you go through these stairs, reach the upper ground floor, talking about the catalogs and the treasures gallery later. Go straight to tower. So the first thing you talk about is the tower in the center, right? And this box is the tower. That's what the arrow is indicating. There is something in the middle of the tower. What is that? That's the highlight of the library. It's the King's Library, right? Once you see the King's Library, then you know that the only question left is 20. So let them talk about the Treasures Gallery. To guide you to 20, he explicitly talks about the Treasures Gallery and even says, can you see it? Can you see the Treasures Gallery? So once you have spotted the Treasures Gallery, then he says that even though the Treasures Gallery is the main, one of the things that really attracts the public, you can also check out the stamp collection. So that's the only thing that is left. It's the stamp display, right? So those are your answers. Easy peasy. Did you miss the last one because you got distracted, or did you not hear it properly? Did you not understand it? What is the reason for missing it? Stamp something. Oh, it was a stamp display. Okay, it was display. All right, are we ready? You only heard stamp. Let me play the audio again to see if it was unclear or not.
You'll be free to browse there when we get back to the ground floor. Now, opposite the main entrance on this floor, we have the open stairs leading up to the upper ground floor. And at the top of them, in the middle of the upper ground floor, you can see a kind of glass-sided tower that rises all the way up through the ceiling and up to the first floor. This is called the King's Library. It's really the heart of the building. It was built to house the collection that was presented to the nation in 1823 by the King. You can see it from every floor above ground. When we go up there, you'll find the library's treasures gallery on the left. Can you find it on your plan? That's the exciting one. So we'll be visiting that first, but we'll also take a look at the stamp display situated behind it on the way to the cafe. A lot of people miss that. The cafeteria runs along the back of the floor, and in the right-hand corner, you'll find the lifts and toilets. Always good to locate them. The other main area on that floor is the public access catalogue section.
So, how did you score? Quickly, tell me. I got a 10 on 10. What about all of you? Hope, why are you copying my dialogues? Very good, Tanmay, 10 on 10. Sion, what did you miss? Date of birth fill karne ka instruction, one word, one number, then write the year. Harrier, 10 on 10, very good. Okay.
Now turn to Section 3. Section 3. You will hear a conversation between a student, Dave, and his tutor about a project that Dave has done about work placements. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25 on page 42. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Good afternoon, Dave. Come on in and take a seat.
Hi, Dr. Green. Thanks.
Oh, hang on a minute. I'll just find the first draft of your project paper, and we can have a look at it together. Now, yours is the one on work placement, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So what made you choose that for your project?
Well, I suppose it was because sending students off to various companies for work experience seems to be such a typical part of educational courses these days. I mean, even school kids get to do it. But I felt everyone just kind of assumes it's a good thing. And I guess I wanted to find out if that's the case.
But you don't look at schools or colleges, right? You've stuck to university placement schemes.
Yeah, well, I quickly found that I had to limit my research. Otherwise, the area was just too big. Do you think that was okay?
I think it's very sensible, especially as the objectives might be very different. So how many schemes did you look at?
Well, I sent out about 150 questionnaires altogether. 50 of each to university authorities, students and companies. And I got responses from 15 educational institutions and 30 students in 11 individual companies.
Great. That sounds like a good sample. And who did you send your company questionnaires to?
Well, the idea was to have them done by the students' line managers. But sometimes they were filled in by the human resources manager or even the owner of the company.
Right. I didn't find a full list anywhere, so I think it's very important to provide that, really. You can put it as an appendix at the back.
Right. I've got a record of all the respondents, so that'll be easy. I hope other things were okay. I mean, I've already put such a lot of work into this project, identifying the companies and so on.
Oh, I can tell. I think you've done a good job overall.
You now have some time to look at questions 26 to 30 on page 43. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
I thought your questionnaires were excellent, and you'd obviously done lots of background reading, but there were a few problems with the introduction. First of all, I think you need to make some slight changes to the organization of your information there. At present, it's a bit confused.
Okay. What did you have in mind?
Well, you write quite a bit about work placement in general, but you never explain what you mean by the term.
So you think I should give a definition?
Exactly. And the introduction is the place to do it. And then, look, you start talking about what's been written on the topic, but it's all a bit mixed up with your own project.
So do you think it would be better to have two sections there? Like a survey of the literature as the introduction, and then a separate section on the aims of my research?
I do. You can include your methods for collecting data in the second section too. It would be much clearer for your reader. Establish the background first, then how your work relates to it. It would flow quite nicely then.
Yes, I see what you mean.
Anyway, moving on. I like the way you've grouped your findings into 3 main topic areas.
Well, it became very obvious from the questionnaires that the preparation stage was really important for the whole scheme to work. So I had to look at that first. And I found a huge variation between the different institutions, as you saw.
I was wondering if you could give a summary at the end of this stage of what you consider to be the best practice you found. I think that would be very helpful.
Right, I'll just make a note of that. What did you think of my second set of findings on key skills development? For me, this is the core of my whole project, really.
And you've handled it very well. I wouldn't want you to make any changes. You've already got a nice final focus on good practice there.
Thanks.
Right. Now, I think the last part, which deals with the reasons why students don't learn.
What, the constraints on learning chapter?
Yes, that's the one. I think you need to refer to the evidence from your research a bit more closely here. Maybe you could illustrate it with quotations from the questionnaires, or even use any extracts from a student diary if you can, and refer back to what you've written about good practice.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
All right, that is the end of section 3. I hope you were able to get the answers. Should we start discussing? Please send your answers in the chat. All right, so the first one, what was the main aim of Dave's project? I thought this was a bit confusing, specifically between these two options. So first tell me, which one did you pick? Did you pick B or did you pick C? A you picked. Why? I thought you would get confused between B or C. You picked A. What about the rest? A. Why is everybody picking A? Dave explained the aim of his policy, right? What he said was everybody assumes and doesn't even really question the work experience required. I'll just play it again. Here we go.
Section 3. You will hear a conversation between a student, Dave, and his tutor about a project that Dave has done about work placements. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25 on page 42.
I can't forward so minutely, so we'll have to wait. But pay attention to what Dave is saying. I thought this was a typical, tricky question, so it's a good thing to focus on. Let's quickly understand what the correct answer is and why. A lot of you think it's B. Okay. Some of you think it's A, so there's confusion overall.
And answer questions 21 to 25.
Good afternoon, Dave. Come on in and take a seat.
Hi, Dr. Green. Thanks.
Oh, hang on a minute. I'll just find the first draft of your project paper, and we can have a look at it together. Now, yours is the one on work placement, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So what made you choose that for your project?
Well, I suppose it was because sending students off to various companies for work experience seems to be such a typical part of educational courses these days. I mean, even school kids get to do it. But I felt everyone just kind of assumes it's a good thing. And I guess I wanted to find out if that's the case.
But you don't look at schools or colleges, right? You've stuck to university placement schemes.
Yeah, well, I quickly found that I had to limit my research.
So here he clearly says that, it's very typical, everybody is doing it, but everybody sort of assumes that it's good. My study wants to find out if it actually is good. What is another word for find out? Investigate, right? The word assume was already mentioned by him. Investigate, assume. That makes what our correct answer? B. He wants to investigate an assumption. Okay. All those of you who said describe a policy, there is no mention of any kind of policy, right? He's talking about work experience. Sending people off to companies to get work experience, right? Yes, very good. Okay. Next, Dr. Green. I really like the way the Dr. Green's narrator was speaking. The VO artist did a good job. Now, Dave's project is based on schemes so she said you are not focusing on schools and colleges. You are not focusing on schools and colleges. That means you're focusing on universities. She even says it, but even by a simple process of elimination, we can get that the answer is C. So how many academic organizations returned Dave's questionnaire? Clear, two traps being used here, a lot of backtracking, a lot of confusing, distractors, lot of confusing distractors, and the whole 50-15 thing. You really have to pay attention, right? TY and TEEN. You have to really pay attention to the sound. Right? So here, read the question properly. All those of you who are saying C, read the question once again and tell me if you still think that the answer is C. Dave sent out 150. Dave got back 15. These were the two things discussed. Okay. Sent out 150 questionnaires, got back 15 questionnaires, right? So 50 is out of the question. Let's eliminate. How many academic organization returned Dave's questionnaire? Which is returned? Sent out or got back? Sent out or got back? Got back is returned, which makes our correct answer A. 15, right? So you really have to be laser focused during the listening section, because these small details are not difficult to understand. None of this is difficult. It all comes down to how good you are at paying attention to details while listening and also reading. Are you using the time that you're getting to go through the questions wisely? Because if you use the time wisely, you would have understood that it is returned questionnaire, not sent out. The 150 figure was used to talk about how many questionnaires were sent out to organizations. Okay, so B, C, A. Then Dave wanted his questionnaires to be completed by company. Whom did he want should complete? Line managers. But sometimes the human resource managers do it, sometimes the owners also do it. Now here it's not about who completed, it's about who Dave wanted should complete the questionnaire, right? It's not about who actually completed, it's whom did Dave originally want should complete the questionnaire. That was line manager, okay? But in reality, sometimes human resource managers, sometimes owners also completed the questionnaire. Correct? Then Dr. Green wants Dave to provide a full list of what? Full list of respondents. This was very straightforward. No confusion here, right? Okay. Moving on to the next one where Dr. Green is giving feedback. Okay, this was quite straightforward. First thing was improve the organization of ideas. Include a what on work placement? So she said that the problem is that people don't know the meaning of the word work placement. What you should do is include the meaning. But then Dave himself says, oh, you want me to include a definition. Okay. Have separate sections for literature, survey and research, aim and methods, right? Then, preparation stage, he was asked to add a summary. This was good, no changes required. What section was this? Key skills development. Key skills. This was the only answer which actually had 2 words. The rest were all 1 word. Definition, spelling, Harrier. It's not definition, it's definition. Definition. N-I-T-I-O-N. Constraints on learning provide better links to the evidence from research, right? So again, for me, it's a 10 on 10. I will clearly say that the MCQ was a lot harder than this. And MCQ in listening comprehension will generally be harder than the other section. So you have to be laser focused when it comes to the MCQ. When it comes to the MCQ, you need to use the time you get to prepare very wisely. Have to read all of the questions, see through all the traps. Maximum number of traps you will find in the MCQ section only, right? Exit, both spellings are fine. British, American, it's okay. Alright? Okay, let's move on to the next section now. Last and final section.
So you think I should give a definition?
Exactly. And the introduction is the place to do it. And then, look, you start talking about what's been written on the topic, but it's all a bit mixed up with your own project.
So do you think it would be better to have 2 sections there? Like a survey of the literature as the introduction, and then a separate section on the aims of my research?
I do. You can include your methods for collecting data in the second section too.
We'll have to wait for that to play out.
For your reader. Establish the background first, then how your work relates to it. It would flow quite nicely then.
Yes, I see what you mean.
British English, American English, both are acceptable. You will not get penalized.
Three main topic areas.
Well, it became very obvious from the questionnaires that the preparation stage was really important for the whole scheme to work. So I had to look at that first. And I found a huge...
See, you will not, don't deduct a point or don't deduct marks because you wrote the other spelling of organization. That's completely fine. No one's going to deduct marks if you write the American spelling or the British spelling. Only if you write the wrong spelling, that's a problem. There is no difference in spelling for the word definition. Definition spelling is standard. Organization, SZ difference.
I wouldn't want you to make any changes. You've already got a nice final focus on good practice there.
Thanks.
Right. Now, I think the last part, which deals with the reasons why students don't learn.
What, the constraints on learning chapter?
Yes, that's the one. I think you need to refer to the evidence from your research a bit more closely here. Maybe you could illustrate it with quotations from the questionnaires, or even use any extracts from a student diary if you can, and refer back to what you've written about good practice.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4. Section 4. You will hear a part of a lecture about learning and bilingualism. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40 on pages 44 and 45. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
When we look at theories of education and learning, we see a constant shifting of views as established theories are questioned and refined or even replaced, and we can see this very clearly in the way that attitudes towards bilingualism have changed. Let's start with a definition of bilingualism. And for our purposes today, we can say it's the ability to communicate with the same degree of proficiency in at least 2 languages. Now, in practical terms, this might seem like a good thing, something we'd all like to be able to do. However, early research done with children in the USA in fact suggested that being bilingual interfered in some way with learning and with the development of their mental processes. And so in those days, bilingualism was regarded as something to be avoided, and parents were encouraged to bring their children up as monolingual, just speaking one language. But this research, which took place in the early part of the 20th century, is now regarded as unsound for various reasons, mainly because it didn't take into account other factors such as the children's social and economic backgrounds. Now, in our last lecture, we were looking at some of the research that's been done into the way children learn, into their cognitive development, and in fact we believe now that the relationship between bilingualism and cognitive development is actually a positive one. It turns out that cognitive skills such as problem solving, which don't seem at first glance to have anything to do with how many languages you speak, are better among bilingual children than monolingual ones. And quite recently, there's been some very interesting work done by Ellen Bialystok at York University in Canada. She's been doing various studies on the effects of bilingualism, and her findings provide some evidence that they might apply to adults as well. They're not just restricted to children. So how do you go about investigating something like this? Well, Dr. Bialystok used groups of monolingual and bilingual subjects aged from 30 right up to 88. For one experiment, she used a computer program which displayed either a red or a blue square on the screen. The coloured square could come up on either the left-hand or the right-hand side of the screen. If the square was blue, the subject had to press the left shift key on the keyboard, and if the square was red, they had to press the right shift key. So they didn't have to react at all to the actual position of the square on the screen, just to the colour they saw. And she measured the subject's reaction times by recording how long it took them to press the shift key and how often they got it right. What she was particularly interested in was whether it took the subject longer to react when a square lit up on one side of the screen, say the left, and the subject had to press the shift key on the right-hand side. She'd expected that it would take more processing time than if a square lit up on the left and the candidates had to press a left key. This was because of a phenomenon known as the Simon effect, where basically the brain gets a bit confused because of conflicting demands being made on it. In this case, seeing something on the right and having to react on the left. And this causes a person's reaction times to slow down. The results of the experiment showed that the bilingual subjects responded more quickly than the monolingual ones. That was true both when the squares were on the correct side of the screen, so to speak, and even more so when they were not. So bilingual people were better able to deal with the Simon effect than the monolingual ones. So what's the explanation for this? Well, the result of the experiment suggests that bilingual people are better at ignoring information which is irrelevant to the task in hand and just concentrating on what's important. One suggestion given by Dr. Bialystok was that it might be because someone who speaks two languages can suppress the activity of parts of the brain when it isn't needed. In particular, the part that processes whichever language isn't being used at that particular time. Well, she then went on to investigate that with a second experiment. But again, the bilingual group performed better. And what was particularly interesting, and this is, I think, why the experiments have received so much publicity, is that in all cases, the performance gap between monolinguals and bilinguals actually increased with age, which suggests that bilingualism protects the mind against decline. So in some way, the lifelong experience of managing two languages may prevent some of the negative effects of ageing. So that's a very different story from the early research. So what are the implications of this for education?
That is the
All right, so this went, first of all, congratulations to all you bilinguals. We are smarter than monolinguals. Okay. But on a serious note, this went by quite fast and was a bit challenging, that I get. So that's why I'm sure some of you struggled with this a little bit. You had to really put that bilingual brain to work and figure out things simultaneously and ignore useless information. So let's quickly go through the answers for the first one. What was it? The definition of bilingualism is simply, feel proud. The definition, what is the definition of bilingual? It's having level of communicative proficiency in two or more languages. Early research suggested that bilingualism caused problems with learning and mental development. I feel like the early research was simply racist, which is a huge possibility. Okay, because generally it's ethnic people, not white people who are bilingual. White people generally only speak English in America and UK, that is, and everybody else has a second language. So I feel like there were racist undertones in the initial research, but the answer here is learning. So that proved to be false because it did not consider the social and economic backgrounds of children. So your group that was being tested itself was faulty. Then what happened? It is now thought that there is a positive relationship between bilingualism and cognitive skills, right? Research done by Ellen, how did she say this name? Bialstock. In Canada now suggests that the effects of bilingualism can also apply to not just children but also to adults. Okay, were we able to get all of these answers? Very good. Tanmay, the word between is necessary. That's how the sentence will make sense. These sentences are not shorthand notes. When you have notes in the tabular form, there you can omit some things, make some grammatical mistakes, that's okay. Like I've told you multiple times in notes, if there is no article, that's fine. But here, these are proper sentences. The sentences need to make sense, and that is why the word between needs to be there. You are allowed to write 3 words, so make sure you're writing the word between, okay? And adults, very good. Next, in Dr. Bialystok's experiment, the subjects had to react according to what? What did they react according to? Not the location, but the color of the square on screen, right? If the color was red, they had to press the some shift key on some side, etc., etc. So they were primarily responding to color. The experiment demonstrated the Simon effect because it involved a conflict between what? What is the Simon effect? The Simon effect generally is seeing something and reacting to it. Okay? Seeing conflicting things and being able to react appropriately. Right? Very good. Next, the experiment shows that compared with the monolingual subjects, the bilingual subjects, what? Were able to react faster. They had faster reaction times, right? Then the results of the experiment indicate that bilingual people may be better at doing one thing at a time and ignoring everything else. So, focusing only on what is needed to do a task. Alright? And finally, Dr. Bialystok's first and second experiments both suggest that bilingualism may, what does it do? It counters the negative impact of aging. So, slow down the effects of old age on the brain. Right? Very good. Seems like all of you were able to answer questions correctly. For me, it's able to get a 10 on 10 here as well. So that brings me at a band 9. So everybody else, how did we do? Quickly give me your score. And I'm going to write down your names. So how many band 9s do we have? Band 8.5 leaderboard and band 8. If you made one mistake, you are here. If you made 2 mistakes, you are here. If you made 3 mistakes, you're over here. So it's like, actually I'll write that down. If you got a 39 to 40, got a 37 to 38, 35 to 36. All right. Who do we have here? Very good, Tanmay. Congrats on finally making it to band 9. $38. $36. I'm just gonna write Omar. Okay. Or we can do this. All right. Aniket, you're at a band 9. What about the rest? Come on. 30 to 40. 30 out of 40. Then Aniket, you're not on a band 9. Aniket, stop confusing me. What about the rest? Come on, come on. No 8, band 8s. Aryan, what about you? Shayan, I feel like you were just distracted today. That's why you weren't able to do. Otherwise, easily you could have reached a 8. No other band 8, band 8.5 folks? All right, claps for all of you here on the leaderboard. Oh no, Aryan, you missed it by 1 point. That's okay. Next time, wish to see you somewhere here. Great job. Great job, everybody. Oh, ad came in between. I don't know. This you have to take up with Mark Zuckerberg. Can't really do anything about it. But great job, all these people. Tanmay, Aniket, Exit, and Mohammed Omar. Very good. All of you have done a fantastic job. But I want, Umar, I want you from here to here. Exit, I want you from here to here. Tanmay and Aniket, I want you from 39 to 40 out of 40. Okay? Next time. I was able to get a 40 on 40. I wrote down my score everywhere. See here, 10 on 10. Section 1. Section 2. And section 4. Okay. Who owns Meta? Oh, sorry. Who owns... YouTube is owned by Google. Sorry. Take it up with Sundar Pichai. My bad. Completely lost track. Instagram is Meta. And Facebook is also Meta. WhatsApp is also Meta. Google and YouTube are Google. So, take it up with Sundar Pichai. Alphabet. Whoever. And Twitter is now X, and that is Elon Musk. Wow. Okay. All right, great job again to everybody who made it on the leaderboard. Tomorrow we will have a similar leaderboard for the speaking test, but for that you need to give me non-AI generated. Oh, Neil Mohan is the CEO of YouTube. Very good. Sorry if that hurt your ears. Okay, take it up with Neil Mohan. Write him an email. Ask him why there are ads in the middle of live streams. Cannot buy subscription for everything. Okay? So, good job again, all of you. Shout out to all of you. If you are benefiting from these videos, please do not forget to subscribe and share them with your friends who are also preparing to go abroad and study. Follow us on our socials and take very good care of yourselves. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.